Hi, everybody. Today, I'd like to welcome Alan Windram to the Back to the Future podcast/Zoom. He's the author of 4 children's picture books. He won the 2019 BookBug Picture Book Prize for one of his books, One Button Benny. And his publishing company, Little Door Books, was one of the 2019 winners of the Saltire Society Emerging Publisher of the Year. Alan, I am thrilled to have you on the show.
So am I. It's great to be here. Hi, everybody.
Hello. We've also got someone else joining us today. We've got a wee little pup. This is Guinness. Yes, my sweetheart. And he's really excited too. So, Alan, straight into the questions. What was your childhood dream?
Well, my childhood dream was probably to be a cowboy. I had a very vivid imagination when I was a child and grew up in the Scottish borders. Lots of horses round about there, and I was very much into horses. I wasn't very good at riding horses, but I used to read, when I got into reading, I read lots of stories about horses and about cowboys and adventure and things like that. So my dream would have been to be a cowboy riding on a horse.
Yeah.
I know, that's right, and learning how to do the lasso and sitting out in campfires. I did a lot of the campfire thing with the scouts, but not much horse riding. So I suppose that was that I can remember, one of my earliest dreams. But yeah, it was never going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. But at least you sort of, you could pretend a bit, and being in the Scouts is always super useful, isn't it? So
yeah.
Has your dream changed as you have grown older?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I think I only started to live a dream probably much later on in life. I kind of fell into a lot of careers and jobs, always wanted to do something artistic and creative. But growing up in the borders, there wasn't, and this was in the 80s, 70s and 80s, there wasn't a huge amount of scope for create, like drama, music, the arts in that small area of town. And so my careers officer at school very much guided me towards something that he thought was in that creative genre, which was hairdressing. So I know I left. Look at the effects it's left on me. No, so I as I grew up, I still had a very vivid imagination. I did when I was at school, I did quite a few competitions, like writing competitions and drawing, painting and things, and did reasonably well in that. And I got involved in drama. I think that's where the whole drama and music thing came, that I loved pretending to be someone else. Yes. With drama, it was school shows. I could just be this other character because I was very shy at school, and I could put on the outfit of somebody else and be this person and not worry about people not liking me as me. Yeah. And then I got involved in doing music, singing and things as well. Kind of like your background, I think, with the music. Yeah. But yeah, so like I always wanted to, that would have been my ideal career, was being involved in music and drama. But yeah, it just never really happened that way. But as I grew up, a lot of what I did outside of my daily work was involved in music and drama. Like I was a hairdresser, trained to be a hairdresser in Edinburgh and became one, but I was also allergic to all the chemicals. So my hands, so I had to give up. But I went out to Africa to work for a year. And I suppose I'd read lots of books about Africa as well, and adventure. And I worked with a mission organization, and I was out building accommodation and taking food and clothes out in the bush. And it was kind of in the 80s, and it was really sort of on the edge sort of stuff. And it was really I sleep under a mosquito net. And in the morning, I'd roll back my mat and find scorpions and snakes and things, and then have to cook everybody's breakfast over an open fire. So there was a lot of, really sort of adventurous things doing out there. But again, I did a lot of music when I was out in Africa, and but yeah, I did. I won't go into what else I've done. I've loads of other careers before I got to doing what I eventually love doing, which is writing stories, taking these stories in some ways performing, part of like a show as I go into schools and libraries and book festivals. And also wrote music with a band, played with a band, toured Scotland.
And just come on to that now.
Yeah.
We're getting a wee bit ahead, but it's
Sorry.
so exciting. No, that's okay. It's wonderful because I think you're really kind of a wonderful example of how you kind of garner life experience and then you find what's right for you. And when you really find your niche, you're able to create something wonderful. And you've given this reading enjoyment to kids out there. So all that kind of like, like a long history going round and around, because I've done the same thing, like done so many different jobs. But when you finally find your niche, it's like, yeah, all that life experience was like totally worth it. So
yeah.
One more question. Were you really into reading books or comics when you were little?
To be honest, I was quite a late reader. I had a great imagination, as I was saying, but I tended to be out doing things, like in the Scouts, and then out with my brothers, we would build gang hats, as in sort of like hats that out of sticks and things, and play games. So there was a lot of outdoor. There wasn't a lot of, like, anytime it was nice, we would be outside playing games and stuff. But it wasn't until I was probably about 12 or so that I started to read. And what really got me into reading was The Hobbit. I know everybody knows from the films and that, but the books are just absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I used to run in from school, go upstairs, just start reading the next chapters. I get shouted down from my tea, and then I'd be straight back upstairs, and then which led on to Lord of the Rings. And books that kind of really fired the imagination, and you had this image in your head of what it was, because there was no movies or anything of that at the time. But yeah, I was quite late in doing it, and I read comics, but not obsessively in any way. It was more the books, and then I read a lot of books about horses, and so I think a friend of mine got me into books like the Silver Brumby and Black Beauty series, and I think because I grew up and there's lots of horses round about, and I used to like drawing horses and things. But yeah, it was that adventure thing. And before I went to Africa, I was reading a lot of Wilbur Smith books, which was all about Africa and all these adventures and things. And it was kind of like, oh, I'm here. And this,
absolutely, yeah.
So, but yeah, so I was kind of like,
absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great. So as well as being a writer, you're also a talented singer-songwriter, and you were in an indie rock pop band called Splendid. You released 3 albums and toured with some of Scotland's top acts. This is amazing, Alan. Can you tell me a little bit about this? It's great.
Yeah, well, as I say, I got involved with doing music. Music and drama were or acting in that were my 2 sort of big loves. And like, I'm not a brilliant guitarist, but I played with a band that was actually linked with a church. But then I started to do more and more, start to write my own songs, and it was very much pop rock vibe. But then I decided I was nursing at that point. I was a theatre nurse and really wanted to try and explore the possibility of doing music full time. So I was in Edinburgh, and I did a diploma in modern music at the Julianesque Valley College, which basically gave me 2 years to concentrate on how to record, how to write. We wrote songs with different people. We had to form bands. And through that, I found 2 other people who were really like-minded like me and liked the same sort of songs and things. But the guitarist I'd played with the other band was him and I, my melodies and his guitar parts, they were like harmonies together. So with the bass player and the drummer from the college band and the guitarist and that, we formed Splendid. And then we toured with Fish, who's with Marillion. You probably know Fish, some people won't. In fact, it was kind of weird because most of the people that we toured with were animal named bands. So Fish and Horse MacDonald from Glasgow, and a band called the Mutton Birds, similar to Crowded House. And like it was a little bands like China Crisis, Black, you know, in the 80s. They were bigger bands in the 80s and they were coming back, and a few other acts as well. So yeah, like it was amazing. Yeah, so we put the albums out. We did a few gigs our own in the Edinburgh Book Festival, and no, sorry, Edinburgh Festival. But it was great fun opening for other acts, because you really kind of had that half an hour, 40 minutes, you had to just and go for it, and it was amazing. So that's how we kind of ended up writing music for the books as well, because it came out of that, because my nieces and nephews loved the music of Splendid, and we just request it in the car to my brothers all the time, play Splendid again. And I thought, these little kids really like these poppy, catchy tunes. So when I started writing books, that's why I thought, well, I'll write songs to go with the stories as well.
So did you write the stories first and then the music, or did occasionally like a song come first and you thought, ooh, I could make a character to that? It sounds kind of jaunty.
Yeah, well, my first books that I wrote were 2 Mac and Bob books, which were based, by this time I was doing children's theatre around the country, as well as still working in the operating theatre. So there was 2 different types of theatre, lights and music and drama and both. So yeah, I was part-time by the time in the hospital, and then I was doing children's theatre for nursery age kids, and it was with another lady who started this company called Sticky Kids. So we went around schools and we did songs and just a bit of fun. We were dressed up in characters. So I played Mac, which was loosely based on Old MacDonald, and from the Mac and Bob books. And I wrote songs, because Sticky Kids was very much about taking maybe some traditional tunes and putting different words, and also they wrote original stuff too. But I found that the music really worked well with the little kids. So when I started writing books based on my character, I wanted to write songs as well, which encompassed the feeling and the story. But so the stories came first with that, and then the music. But I knew that I wanted to write music for it. And weirdly, with One Button Benny, when I wrote that, a song idea came pretty early on for the Zing Zang Zoom song. So the words of the chorus are actually within the book. And it just, I don't know, that came kind of together when I was writing it. So
which we have here. Yay! Amazing.
Yeah.
It's so good. We love it. Okay, so that's great. 1 second. Just put that back up. Okay. So you are the co-founder of Little Door Books. How did that come into creation, Alan?
Yeah, that was another interesting story. We kind of fell into publishing by accident. Never really set out to be a publisher, but the two, in fact, I'm very sorry. My top, actually, don't see my bottom half. I'm painting at the moment, so I've got my all messy trousers, but I've got the Mac and Bob books just to show you. So basically, these are the 2 Mac and Bob books.
Okay.
And we produced, this was the first one, and I wrote the music, and we did an audiobook, so did CDs with those.
Alan, this is fantastic. You write the stories and you write the music for them as well. Wow.
Yeah, well, I figure you might as well use what you can do, and hopefully it works. It's all about trying to make the stories come alive for the children. So basically, these 2 books were, I suppose, self-published. But we decided, like when I wrote music and put the Splendid albums out, which we self-produced, we wanted them to be as high quality as we possibly could, that they would stand up in the shops and no one would think, oh, that's just written by someone and photocopied or whatever.
I hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same when we did the picture books. So we went to a proper printing company, and the quality of the color and thing is just absolutely amazing. And same with the CDs. So, and I had I was looking for an illustrator. So I spoke to Vivian French, which you may know Vivian French, I'm not sure, but she's an amazing children's author who has written about 300 books, and she's got an MBE for literacy. And she put me on to an illustrator because she also helps with the Edinburgh College of Art illustration program. So she put me on to this illustrator, and I said to her, oh, I want to do an audiobook. Would you read the audiobook? So I gave her the book, and she read the audiobook, and she says, this is amazing. I love what you've done. The color, the quality is better than some of the big publishers that she worked with. And she says, I want to publish my next picture book with you.
Aww.
And I thought, hold on. So I suppose we're a publisher now. So we
wow.
From the start, we called it Little Door Books because, again, I knew that you had to form something, even a sort of company, or even when I did records, it was always 10 a.m. records or something like that. Yeah. So Little Door Books became a publisher. And sorry, I've got a hold of it. I was just going to show you, see if I had Viv's book. And it's probably the only one that I don't have here. Oh, no, here it is. So this is Captain Cranky and Sea Dog Steve. That was the first book that we published with Viv, with an illustrator called Alison Bartlett, who's this amazing, beautiful illustrations. She and Viv worked together on one called Oliver's Vegetables, which was really popular in the 90s. So yeah, we became a publisher, but what we wanted to do was try and encourage new illustrators into the publishing world. So we went to degree shows, found illustrators in cafes, and wanted to try and give them a chance to have their work seen by more people. So we started to, through Viv, we were able to connect to a lot of more well-known authors, and we started to put well-known authors together with unknown illustrators, and to give the illustrator a lift into the whole thing, but also to give the author someone who's new, exciting, fresh, and working together, much more collaborative. So yeah, that's what we started doing. Gradually, we did more and more books every year. So the last couple of years, we've done about 5 books a year. But this year, it was all picture books to start off with. But this year, we published our first board book called Hushabye Lullaby, which is based on the CBeebies TV series. And it's just a gorgeous little board book for 0 to 3-year-olds. And if you go on to iPlayer and do Hushabye Lullaby, you'll see the series. So this is based on one of the episodes from that. And we also published our first chapter book for older children, this was written by an Orcadian author called
I've seen
David
it.
Flanagan. Yeah. So this is our first chapter book, and the illustrator was one of the illustrators that we had used in previous a debut book. So this is great. Really chuffed with this. So this is a series. So the next one comes out next year.
Wow.
So
I saw that in the Orcadian newspaper, and I was like, "Ooh, Orcadian author."
Yeah. I know. Well, it came through. Dave used to work with my wife, or they studied together in Edinburgh, and we've kept that relationship going. So yeah, it's really exciting time at the moment. So yeah, we fell into it by accident, and we've ended up, amazingly, winning the Saltire Awards with Sandstone as well. So yeah, it's been cool.
Amazing. So 2019 was really an amazing year for you.
Yeah, no, it was.
2 awards, and that must have felt so good, Alan, because you never know, because publishing is a very difficult industry, I think. So you just must have been like, what? Yes.
Well, it was, starting off at the start of the year, 2019, winning the BookBug Picture Book Prize as a very small indie publisher. And we were up against like Bloomsbury and HarperCollins or someone, with their books, which were amazing books. But I think the icing on the cake was that the Benny as the winner was chosen by the children. So the children got to vote on which book should win the BookBug Picture Book Prize, and they chose Benny, and it was just amazing. And it also opened up so many more doors for us as a publisher, but for me as an author too.
Yeah, it's unusual, and it's funny, and it's really beautifully illustrated. And the kids love to sing the chorus. Like my girls were going around the bedroom, they had colanders on their head, and they were pretending to be robots, and they were going zoom, zoom. I had to hide the book for a couple of weeks because I couldn't take it anymore. I was just
Couldn't take it. Oh yeah, I know it gets a bit like that. But it's been amazing to see, like, even for World Book Day, like, people send me pictures of the children dressing up as One Button Benny. And I think I've even had pictures of a teacher dressed up as One Button Benny.
wow.
And it just seems to have captured an imagination, or the kids' imagination. And it's been really amazing. And I kind of feel it's such a privilege to work with Chloe, because her illustrations are absolutely gorgeous, and she's created with the illustrations this whole world that makes the characters come alive. So yeah, it's been really lovely.
Wow, fantastic. So I mean, you must feel just kind of validated that that you kept on going. So you've had that success, but as you were sort of getting there, did you have any setbacks? Were there obstacles that you had to overcome? And did people support you in your dream, or did they just go, oh yeah, it's another writer?
It was very hard at the start when we had the two Mac and Bob books out, and it was kind of like a self-published thing. Even it took probably until we started working with Vivian French and another couple of authors, because with joining Publishing Scotland, they needed to see it wasn't just me doing my books, so that we were working with other people. And they've been really supportive over the process, and that's been able to open some doors. It's always, until we got distribution for the books, it was really hard, because I was then taking the car, driving round. I would go up to Edinburgh from the Borders, drive around loads of bookshops. Could you take these books? Would you take these books? Like, this was before Benny. It was probably, I think we'd had about 4 or 5 picture books out there, and it was still really hard, but I just kept going because I thought these are great. And schools, once they heard about what I was doing, a lot of schools I'd done with the Sticky Kids, so they had me for Mac and Bob, and they loved that as well. But yeah, until we got distribution, it then opened up, meant a lot more doors, say, like, so to get books into Waterstones, to get books into more bookshops around the country. And then I contacted Scottish Book Trust, who were really good at giving me information on what they were looking for, what they wanted. And then just I had to pitch to book festivals. So it was really hard at the start. You sort of, oh, well, we don't know you or whatever. So, and I think until they took a risk and I did some events and they saw, oh, this is great. It's involving music, there's amazing pictures. And because I'd done theatre and children's theatre, it's almost like a show. So it's totally different than just me sitting with a book and just telling a story. It's full on active. Yeah. And I think that inspires the children as much as the teachers to see that stories and writing can be fun. And I think that's what it gives so much more back to me. So yeah, it was tricky until we got to a certain position for the publishing, but it's still hard. You've got to keep everything you put out has got to be as good as it possibly can be, and you still have to work hard at trying to get events at festivals for some of our authors or illustrators. You can never take for granted that because you've had an award-winning book or whatever, that people are just going to flock to you. You've still got to work hard at that. And being the only...
That's really good advice. Never to rest on your laurels. You do one thing and then you keep going on to the next thing.
I think you believe in yourself. That is the thing. You've got to believe that what you're doing, what you are producing is good. And I think that comes across as well. Sometimes not being apologetic for what you've created. It's this is great. And I probably love more that I'm able to say to other people, these are brilliant. Other people's books. It's sometimes easier to promote other people's talents than your own. And you kind of feel a wee bit, I don't know, a bit shyer about promoting yourself. But being able to work with so many amazing people, and the quality of stuff that's produced is just brilliant. And I really love just trying to push their work as well.
Okay, so are you going to give us a reading a little bit while later when we've finished the interview questions?
Yes, I can do.
Well, I think, you know, one of the reasons that the kids love your books is because they do have such a wonderful positive energy. And I think it's such a lovely legacy that your books and your imagination and these characters that you created, like One Button Benny, are a part of a whole generation of Scottish kids growing up. It's part of their mental landscape. And I think, you know, I love that. It's something so positive from, you know, all your hard work. So on to the next question. My daughters love One Button Benny, and we were lucky enough to get a signed copy from you. Ta-da! When you came to Orkney's Kirkwall Library. Which book do you think is your favourite, or should you not say that you have one?
As in one of my books, or just generally?
One of your books.
I think the Benny series is my favorite because I see a lot of Benny in me. It's that sort of, I used to get sort of teased and sometimes bullied at school. I was very shy. And I think there's a tendency for children to kind of feel a bit scared of being themselves. It's like I said to you about how I used to love dressing up as a character because I wasn't myself. I could do all the things on stage and just pretend to be whatever. And the hardest thing I actually found, because when I went from the Mac and Bob books where I did dress up and I just had lots of fun with the teachers and things like that, to doing One Button Benny, where it was me who was standing up in front of the school and the pupils and had to be myself. But then I soon realized that the character I was playing when I was dressing up was still me, and I could be me without worrying about who I am. And sometimes it takes a long time. And I think the whole ethos behind Benny was very much that everybody's different, everybody's special, but everybody has something to offer. And, you know, we're all unique. And I think that to get that across and be able to get that across to the children and even the teachers, seeing how they enjoy things. And like, I'm not great at spelling, I'm not great at grammar and things, but I tend to, you get the imagination down, and then you can sort all these things out later. But just, it's about coming out with stories. So a lot of school events, what do you think could happen next? And just the ideas that, and sometimes teachers come up and say, oh, I never ever thought so-and-so would get engaged and talk about things. But yeah, I think they see themselves in Benny, and I saw myself, and part of me is within Benny. So it's been a joy doing that. So, and hopefully it'll continue on with that. So I think
so. Yeah, we're waiting for, you know, Benny number 2. Is he?
Have you not got it?
No.
Yeah, Benny number 2. Unfortunately, last year with COVID, like everybody else, we had to delay some books, but Benny 2 came out in August last year, and it kind of got a bit lost in the ether because things just started to open up in August. We had loads of festival appearances lined up, but they were all cancelled. So Benny 2 is here we go. Yeah, Benny 2 came out in August, and I've been round our schools in it. So this is it: One Button Benny and the Gigantic Catastrophe.
Woohoo! Great.
Yeah.
I'm excited just by the title. That is perfect.
Yes, it kind of follows on from the end of the first one. The end of the first one, you probably see some little aliens coming to the planet. Yeah. So
that's good. Because
some different.
I've not been able to find any sort of information about Benny number 2. So yeah, so I will be nipping down to the library, the wonderful Kirkwall Library, this afternoon.
Yeah, certainly it is available. And I suppose that's the thing that I was slightly disappointed about because of COVID, that Benny 2, because there's so many people who know the first Benny, but because of COVID and the way everything shut down, shops and events and whatever, a lot of places I go to still don't know that Benny 2 is out there. So, but yeah, there's lots of potentially exciting things happening with Benny. So it's just a case of hopefully trying to push it and keep it in people's awareness that he is there, and hopefully there's some exciting stuff going to be happening with Benny. So that'd be good.
Okay, so next question, Alan. This podcast is very much about dreams and encouraging people to pursue their dreams if it's, safe to do so. So what is the best thing, do you think, that's happened to you in pursuit of your dreams or in pursuit of this writing and music playing career?
I must admit, I had loads of dreams wanting to be a pop star with a band and things, but being able to, I think what really makes it even more special, the music that I've done in the past, is when I go and do an event and see 400 children doing the Zing Zang Zoom song. I would never have 400 adults doing something and with so much energy and joy. And that is just seeing something that you've created coming back at you. It just, I don't know, it's just inspiring for me and fills me with such sort of joy that I've been able to do that. And, people seem to really get it and love it. And I think that's encompassed what I do with drama, with writing, and with music, all in that one moment when you see people, whether it be a small group of kids or teachers or whatever, or a huge auditorium doing the same thing, and it's total, there's no holding back with the kids. It's just amazing.
One button Benny fandom. Woo!
It's like the Beatles,
Yeah, it's better than Cowboys any day of the week. Woo! Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, do you have any new children's books in the work? Are you planning another library tour to read to children around Scotland and the UK at all?
Well, I'm always extremely keen to go anywhere to do events. I don't know if any of the listeners know that the Scottish Book Trust, if anybody's with schools, libraries, book festivals, the Scottish Book Trust has a live literature database. And every year they provide funding for authors to go around the country. And that's how I ended up in Orkney. I worked in a school and also in the library. And I've actually just come back from Shetland the last few weeks, and the library services there got some funding and were able to take me around loads of schools in Shetland. And so any schools or libraries can apply for this funding, which it makes it much more accessible for authors to come. And I absolutely love doing events. So if anybody wants me to come up, or anywhere, just check out Scottish Book Trust Live Literature Database, and they have funding. In fact, until the end of next week, people can actually get funding to have a fully funded author event. So basically, I'm near Oban just now, and you're up in Orkney. So the Scottish Book Trust would fund me flying up to Orkney, doing events, and then coming back, and everything that entails. And the schools and things wouldn't have to pay anything. So until I think the 29th of, and that would be right, they could organize something for next March. So that's, and I'm totally thinking, I can't think what your question was. What else is going to happen with Benny? Was it? Yeah.
Yes. Any other new books?
New books. Yeah. Well, second Benny. There's two Bennies now. There we go. The third Benny I'm working on at the moment, which will come out in 2023. And then after that, I want to write some chapter books. So this kind of similar size book for Benny, that children who are maybe just coming out of picture books and they like stories with some illustrations. So that sort of thing. So I've got sort of bigger ideas for Benny that will take more words than a picture book. I would love Benny to be going to TV or films and stuff. And we'll see what
animation.
Yeah. So I know. But I have been working on other picture book stories. So there is a separate picture book story that hopefully will come out in 2023 called Kevin the Orange. It's about little orange who, and it's really fun. So that'll probably come out the same year as the new Benny in 23. And there's a couple of other things I'm working on, an older children's book. But yeah, it's just getting the time to do everything and run the publishing company.
No,
so
you sometimes feel like there should be 5 of you.
I know that'd be handy.
Priorities for cloning, Alan Windram, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so Would you encourage others to pursue their dreams, Alan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My whole philosophy is just go for it. You never, and that's been it with life as anything else creative. You know, not everything will be possible for everybody. But I think you've got to have a dream, and I think you've got to try. Because if you never try, if you never take that first step, then you will never know.
Which can be really
And
scary.
yeah, it can be extremely scary. But I think sometimes looking back, it can be scarier to not have tried than to try and fail. But you never know. You might not fail. You know, you might be a success, or you don't need to be famous to have a life that is fulfilled. You just need to do what you feel you want to do and are good at, and just try things. Because everybody, like, I go back to what Benny philosophy is, everybody is unique, everybody's different, everybody is special, but everybody has something that they can do. And I think and sometimes it takes a while to find it. I was about 50 by the time I found out what I want to do. I thought, this is it. I'm now doing what I always wanted to do, and everything seems to fall into place. It doesn't mean that's easy, or it continues to be easy, but there's a passion behind that drives you. And I think if you've got that, you keep thinking, right, I'm going to keep going. Why not? I don't need to do it like everybody else. I do it the way that I think is right for me.
Perfect. Absolutely. I agree. It's about, it's life journeys. It's getting that experience. It's finding your niche. It's having a purpose. And then it's having that courage, isn't it? To just think, right, I'm going to go for this and keep everything else, juggling everything else, like, rent and bills. And it's finding that kind of balance. So you kind of answered the next question, which was, in your opinion, what qualities does it take to achieve success? What qualities would you advise for any of your kid fans watching this?
Kid fans, I would, as much as possible, it is to love yourself and be yourself, because everyone is unique. And I think we all look at things differently. Like, each person will look at something, but in a different way. And it doesn't mean that both of them are wrong, or one of them's wrong and one of them's right. But if you're looking at the same thing, but eventually coming to that same point. So I think that, being yourself, if you can be yourself and love yourself for who you are, you don't need to try and be like everybody else, because you're unique and special as you are. So just go for it,
It's believing that your uniqueness has a worth that other people are going to be interested in. And this is what I love. I love success stories so much. So I'm so glad that, you persisted, because your books are really stand out, really special. And we knew that. Me and my daughters knew that from the moment we started opening and reading it, and just seeing their reactions. So I'm nipping down that library pretty soon after the podcast. And
just tell them they will be able to get it. If they don't have it there, they will be able to get it.
Yeah, wonderful. So Alan, we have about 20 minutes left. Would you please do me the honor of reading one of your books?
Yeah, well, do you want me to read you like Benny or somebody else's book or whatever? I'm not sure what you want.
What do you think?
I don't know. Well, I suppose what I could do is I could always read you the second Benny, or I could read it, because I don't know if maybe some of the folks won't know the first Benny. We've talked about that a lot, so maybe it'd be better to get them into that, and then they can hunt for the second Benny.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to do that. I'll hold the pictures up, and hopefully you'll be able to see them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And let me see. Right. Now, I'm just wondering, would it be easier if I shared the screen, or you share the screen, or can you see that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, I can share the screen.
Because I'm just thinking, if I then had the full screen, I might be, because it's just the way that the book is.
I I think
Don't know.
if you just go ahead and read it, because I think it's, you know, it's fabulous just to hear that all.
I will. Okay, brilliant, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, something's pressed on my button. My own buttons here. It's all buttons here. So One Button Benny, written by me, Alan Windram, and illustrated by the fabulous Chloe Holwell-Hunter, who started the book, the story, on the first This Book Belongs To page, because you've got a little plan. I don't know if you ever noticed, the little aliens are deciding what they're going to do. So anyway, here we go. Benny was different. Benny was special. Benny was a robot. Benny had a bright red button in the middle of his tummy, and on the button, written in big bold letters, were the words, "Only press in an emergency." Benny had never pressed his button. He often wondered what would happen if he did. Benny had always known he wasn't like the other robots. They all had lots of buttons, and when they pressed them, they did wonderful things.
Ooh.
And there's lots of buttons. There's music coming out there, great for a party, or there's big flashing lights or bubbles, but you might can see Benny's hiding behind there. And I often ask the children, why is he hiding? And I suppose a lot because he only has one button. Sometimes he's been getting teased about that, because he doesn't have lots of buttons and he never pressed it. The other robots used to tease Benny, saying, "Here comes One Button Benny. Come on, Benny, press your button. Let's see what it does." I bet it doesn't do anything. Does it even work? It didn't help that Benny's mum made him wear a vest when it got cold outside. Every time the other robots pressed their buttons, they would show off, saying, "Look at what I can do, Benny. I bet you can't do this." Benny often wished there was an emergency, so he could press his big red button. So on this page, you've got Mum, and things are happening. Benny's going, "Can I press my button? Can I press my button?" And Mum says, no, it's not an emergency. So he's broken the vase. The telly's blown up. And the tricky one, there's no biscuits left in the biscuit jar, which is often an emergency in my house.
Same here.
Or Sparky the pussycat is running away with his vest. It's all coming undone. Well, still no emergency, so he couldn't press his button. One morning, Benny woke up. It seemed just like any other morning. He had his breakfast, brushed his teeth, looked in the mirror at his big bright red button, and wondered what would happen if he pressed it. But this morning, there was something different. There was something wrong. Oh dear. No. Outside in the street, everyone was zipping and zooming around in a panic, shouting, "Oh dear, the collectors are here. What will we do? The collectors are here." No. Benny had heard stories about the collectors, scary stories that kept him awake at night and made him hide under his blanket. The collectors were small, hairy, scary aliens with green bottoms. Oh, and they traveled through space looking for bright, shiny metal. They would gather it all up, throw it into their gigantic crushing machine, and turn it into teapots. The collectors had arrived in the night when everyone was sleeping and taken over Benny's planet.
No.
All the robots were crying as the collectors took them down the main street towards a spaceship and their gigantic crushing machine.
Oh, those robots.
Help! We're all going to be crushed and turned into teapots. Oh no. Benny looked at his mum and said, Mum, I don't want to be a teapot. What are we going to do? Is this an emergency? And what do you think she said this time? Yes, Benny, this is an emergency. Quick, press your button. You're the only one who can save us now. So Benny placed his finger over the big red button on his tummy, closed his eyes and pressed his button. Oh, no. But nothing happened. Oh, then all of a sudden there was a zing, a zang, and a very loud boom. Benny went zooming into the sky, faster than the fastest rocket, flying higher and higher up into space. He pressed his button again, and bright blue laser beams came shooting out his fingers and from the toes of his boots, zapping the collectors from behind, turning their bottoms bright red. Oh no! Benny pressed his button a third time, and a brilliant flash of light stretched across the whole sky. It confused the collectors so much that they all ran around bumping into each other. They were so scared of what Benny could do that they ran as fast as he could into their spaceship and flew away, never to return. All of the robots just stood and stared in amazement. Then together they started jumping up and down, smiling and cheering and singing, zing, zang, zoom. Benny touched the moon. Zing, zang, zoom. His button goes boom. Zing, zang, zoom. Benny wears a vest. Zing, zang, zoom. Benny is the best. Yay. And everyone lifted Benny up on their shoulders as they sang and danced all through the town. Later that night, Benny was still amazed at what happened when he pressed his big, bright red button. And as his mum was tucking him up in bed, Benny asked her, "Do you think I'll ever get to press my button again?" And Mum said, "I hope that you never have to, Benny, but somehow I think you will." And with that, she gave Benny a goodnight kiss, turned out the light, and before you could say zing, zang, zoom, Benny was fast asleep. The end. And there's the aliens coming to the planet. Oh, to look out for One Button Benny and the Gigantic Catastrophe to find out what happened next. And Sparky the Cat features heavily as well. So
I can't wait. I'm so excited to read that for my two girls. They're now big enough to read it for themselves, so I'll have to.
Oh, well, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's some fun bits in it, different bits in it. So
yeah. Thank you so much for doing that reading, Alan. It's absolutely fabulous. It is one of my favorite books. And like I said, kids love it because it's so different and it's so unusual and it's very much from you. So thank you so much. So that's all we've got time for. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Last quick question. Do you have a fan club for the kids or somewhere where they can get in touch with you?
Oh, well, if they wanted to get in touch with me, let me think what would be best.
Or somewhere where they can go and find out, you know, all about your books and how to.
Well, we're just getting our website redone, which we should have a new website by about Christmas time, which will have all the information. So basically, if they go to www.littledoorbooks.co.uk, and I think it's even at, let's see, I don't know if it's maybe not in focus, littledoorbooks.co.uk, then they can see lots of our other books, and there will be a new website coming up, and it'll start to have lots of information about where I'm going to do events, where what books are coming out, and hopefully they're able to look at YouTube videos of me reading the books, doing the robot dancing, and other authors reading their books as well. And they can download some music and some also sheets that they can colour in, Benny.
Oh,
there'll be some free elements where they can download activity sheets and things. But yeah, also, and if teachers and adults, please follow me on Twitter, and I'm at AK Windram, and also at Little Door Books as well. So sorry, my wife, something popped up there, but anyway, so yeah, at Little Door Books is the other one on Twitter as well. And if you hunt for us on Instagram, we are there too. So
that's perfect. Alan, I'm so excited to read One Button Benny too. And thank you so much for being on the show, for reading and telling us a little bit more about your amazing journey and your unique.
Thank you very much. No, it's been lovely, and I hope people enjoy it, and I'll have to listen out to some more of your podcasts as well.
Absolutely. Bye. Bye from Guinness.
Bye-bye.
Bye from me. Bye-bye, Alan. Thank you so much. Bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.